I'm Martin Russ, author of Optimize the Moment, a guide to lead decisively, plan strategically, and communicate effectively. Welcome to my podcast.
It's been an extraordinary week, Martin. We have to talk about the Trump effect. What are your thoughts?
We do have to talk about the Trump effect. He is having an impact all over the world. Lots of companies and lots of countries are feeling the effects and the impact of various executive orders and various decisions that he's made in the early days of his administration. Certainly we are here in Canada, and it's having an effect on a variety of people, variety of leaders in different positions, and I'm hearing a wide variety of things, and I think we should talk about that. There are a number of reactions. I'm hearing, so in the media, among the so-called experts who are, the panelists on the media, language like, we're at war, we're being attacked, various, words for conflict, and certainly Canadians are not used to this, right? We have not had this kind of language and kind of angst as a country for, a long time, certainly in generations. And so people don't quite know what to do with this feeling. And I get it. I don't mean to, put that down in any way, shape, or form. I certainly don't mean to dismiss it. It's real. And people are struggling with what is the impact of this? What do the various decisions and announcements mean for my business, my organization, my not-for-profit, my church, my local community, my country, whatever. But I think it's very worthwhile to put this back into some practical terms and practical realities for us as leaders. So for those of us who are leaders of those companies and businesses and whether it be the community organizations or not-for-profits, I think it's very worthwhile for us to stop and say, these are moments, right? And very important moments. The sky is not falling. The sun is going to come up tomorrow. And so we have some choices to make. And there's a series of things to do, and a series of things that I feel very strongly that it's incumbent on us not to do. So one of the things that I'm obviously seeing a lot of is panic and reaction. I'm hearing from executives that we're going to lose all our clients. I'm hearing things like they're going to shut us down. They're going to shut down all of our operations here. They're going to shut us down and they're going to move us somewhere else. So the extremes, right? All of those extremes. And those are messages that, if that's repeated over and over again, those messages to our staff, to our teams, to our families, all that does is it feeds the angst, it feeds the anxiety, it feeds that sense of being unsettled, and it just goes round, and it goes round, and there are psychological terms for this as to what that does to us emotionally and psychologically, but it feeds on itself, and it's not good. It's not good for anybody, and it certainly doesn't help us to make decisions. It doesn't help us to get out of these situations, and it's just not particularly practical in these terms.
How would you advise a leader to approach this sort of succession of statements and policy initiatives that do have potential implications? How would you advise them to manage this and to lead through it?
Well, first of all, let's acknowledge that it's not easy. I'm not suggesting that it is easy. I wrote the book and I called it Optimize the Moment because I've lived and worked in war zones and conflict zones and seen people live through moments when they literally have been under attack or in those conflicts, and I have seen people lean into those moments and how they've done it. So some pretty remarkable people and the kinds of things that they've done. So the very, very first thing that they do is not react. And in a military context, you think about what do? They rely on their training.
Yeah.
Right? So if they're under attack, they don't hide in the corner. They don't curl up and retract into the corner. Right? They rely on their training. They rely on those impulses that have become second nature, and there are tried and true things. So the intelligence gathering that we do as an organization anticipates the potential things that can happen, so that we understand our market, we understand our mission, our purpose, things that you and I have talked about many times before. Those are not catchphrases. They're very deliberate terms for a very specific reason. So we understand what it is that we're trying to do. Sometimes the disruption in a marketplace is designed to knock us off balance. It's designed to get us off purpose, off our mission.
Yeah.
So our challenge, especially as leaders, is to make sure we stay on mission and that we stay on purpose. So what are the things that we need to do in order to stay on mission? Usually, it's a function of communication. Communication does help in a lot of these areas.
Yeah.
Understanding the market intelligence that we have. Maybe we have to do some more market intelligence and intelligence gathering to reinforce our working theories. One of the things I talk a lot about in the book is making sure that we as leaders have working theories. And we make sure that we're always testing our working theories to make sure that we're on the right track. And that those working theories continue to prove out. And I can tell you from experience, when we have working theories and we continue to inform those working theories proactively, right, meaning that we're not reacting to the information and the over-information that comes from us from every digital device we can put our hands on, those working theories light the path forward. They always do. And we can take comfort in knowing that those working theories prove out. And those give us comfort and confidence that we're doing the right things, and therefore they help us to communicate to the people around us, our teams, our staff, our colleagues, our families, that we're on mission and that we're doing the right things. So even though in a scenario where the Trump effect is happening around us, whether that be to orders that are happening to our country, to our community, to our neighbors, we still have a path, and that path is still the right path. In some instances, and I'm seeing this now more and more, it's presenting opportunities. So within that mission, within that purpose, it actually presents us with opportunities to accelerate.
That's interesting, because when you talk about the working theory as a leader in this moment we're in now, which is a very unprecedented moment, the other part of your title, Optimize the Moment, is when strategic planning fails. So strategic planning is not always the only path. So what I'm hearing from you is, like you have your purpose and your mission. You have to be adaptable.
Yes.
You have to be calm as a leader.
Very much so.
And that's determined by your mission and your purpose with a working theory.
Well, the working theories allow you to have, it's kind of the same as having, in that military sense where you've got your training. Yeah. Your training is what helps you to stay calm.
Exactly.
In an environment that is tumultuous, and there's a lot going on around you. Your working theories are your training. You've done your intelligence gathering. You know your purpose. You know what you're doing. And you're always testing your working theories.
For sure.
Just like you're
ideally, you're always testing it. Not
Right.
everybody does, and that's...
Well, but just like your training, right? You're always doing more training.
Yeah.
You don't succeed in a marathon by going out and training once.
Or just running the race.
Right? Or just trying to run the race once, right? Your
Yeah.
training has to be ongoing, and you're constantly testing, yourself. And just like your working theory for for your purpose, for your mission, for your organization, you need to be constantly testing it, which means, for, let's say it's a not-for-profit organization, which I love not-for-profits because in a lot of cases, your team is made up of volunteers. And there's no greater team than that's made up of volunteers because they get out of bed in the morning wanting to be there to support your mission.
Exactly.
And you really need to listen to them, and they need to be there. They are there to want to support your mission and support your purpose. So
because they're purpose-driven.
They are very purpose-driven.
Yeah.
So you really have to, as leaders of those types of organizations, you really have to be in tune with what it is that they want and that purpose really needs to be on point.
And to your point as well, we can't control everything. Humans like to think we can control our environment.
Yeah.
Military logistics are brilliant at this because you have to disaster plan, the what ifs. When you mention marathon, it's not just the distance, it's the terrain, it's the weather of the day.
Oh, absolutely.
So
there's actually very little that's within our control.
Yeah.
So focusing on the things that we can control, helps us a great deal. It doesn't solve for all the problems. And so there's always going to be obstacles to overcome, but it does help us prepare as best we possibly can. And there's always going to be something else that comes along. As you say, the weather, as we're Canadians, we love to talk about the weather. We love to complain about the weather because our weather is constantly changing. But that is very much about our environment, our business environment, our marketplace, the supply chain, everything in our environment and our ecosystem is constantly changing. And so we have to be adaptable, but in order to do that, we have to get the core pieces right. So focusing on the things that we can control constantly, being diligent about it, and that's where, I use the term developing those working theories and being diligent about those working theories, and that includes bringing people to the table who have contrary opinions, for example, contrary ideas, so that we are always testing our own ideas and bringing new ideas to the table. The intelligence gathering piece is a proactive process of asking questions and asking different questions. So I don't mean the standard customer survey that gets asked for
limited choices.
The limited choices 4,000 times a day to prove a point that you always want to point. That's not what I'm talking about. Intelligence gathering that is looking for those 2 or 3 nuggets of information that are critical to the decision making, and then testing those and testing them as objectively as we possibly can, and doing the analysis on what does that really mean. And when that's done properly, it always lights the path forward.
It's a diversification of thought and critical analysis.
Well, it is, and I think that's what leadership, that's a very, very important part of leadership. The other important part of that is communicating it, right? And communicating it to the team, and so that folks understand what it is, not only what the mission is, but how we got to that mission, right? And some of the other aspects around it. And some people are just better at it than others. But communication does not happen by default. It is a practice skill. And so the good news is people can get better at it. So with that practice, you can get better at it, but you have to be aware that it is a practiced.
And it's also
skill.
These are interesting team sports in a way because you're talking about the core messaging. When you understand the core message or the concept that's driven by mission and purpose, then you can put it into your own words and let's just say define it in a way that works for you individually, but it has to be the core and the center. That comes from leadership, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. And I see leaders all the time, who think they're doing the right things. And and yet time and time again, I just want to shake my head. Whether it be an annual, kind of organizational get together, and they think they're going to have a bit of a motivational session, and one of the leaders will stand up there and say, "Thank you so much for making all of us partners so much money."
Right.
And
that's outcome, not mission.
Well, it's outcome, not mission, but no one in an organization is motivated by making those guys money, right? That
Excellent
is,
point, Martin.
Like that is, at that point, everybody in the room and everybody on the call turned off, because that is not a purpose or a mission, right? I'm not going to jump out of bed so that your percentage of profit just increased by 3% or 5% or whatever the number was. That is not, right? Like, my job in the morning is not to make you more money. No one is motivated by that. If the purpose of the company is profitability for you, then you're defining your mission the wrong way, and you are tone deaf to your team and the people around you. And so that's not a winning purpose.
So if we call it a widget company, you're the CEO of a widget, and or you're running a farm, and you're producing widgets in the field. For your team to be able to get out of bed in the morning, they need to know that widget is doing what?
Oh, sure. There are some fantastic examples of companies that make widgets, or grow potatoes, or do all sorts of what I'm just going to call some fairly basic things in our life and in our society. But they have found a way to express their purpose as part of a greater purpose in our lives, whether it's feeding our families, or making the vehicles that we rely on, or they're part of a different kind of an ecosystem that matters, and it matters to all of us, right? So if we matter more, then we all care more, and we can define our purpose in a different way. And those are kind of the big picture purpose, right? And a lot of the time when I'm talking about mission and purpose, I'm actually talking about something that's a lot more short term, a lot more immediate. That our mission in the next little while is to accomplish A, B, or C, so leaders need to be able to communicate the big picture.
Yeah,
absolutely, and that's not making money for themselves.
And I love in the book when you talk about this, it all comes back to kind of this community building sensibility, whether it's business or it's actual community or it's family. It's a sense of purpose, belonging, and it's not self-serving. It's self-serving in the way that it helps other people. So you're part of that greater good you talk about. Is that fair to say?
Why do people get out of bed in the morning?
Want to make a difference,
right? They want to be part of something that is, relevant and important and growing and successful, right? They want to be part of something where they're winning. I'm just going to use that term.
Yeah.
And that means a variety of things to different people.
Exactly.
I used to work in the financial services business for a long, long time, and I loved it. But we used to say, you buy the stock of the company when the sales guys take over, because they knew how to tell the story. They knew how to bring the team of people together. They knew how to grow that organization. They knew how to make the best out of everybody, right? And you sold the stock the minute the risk management people took over. Because the risk management people were interested in, cutting. They would grow the profitability through, cost cutting and saving on expenses. And invariably, one of the things they did, was they would cut salespeople. Right? One of the very first things they would do is cut salespeople. And I always said, how do you expect to grow the sales of this organization if the first thing you're going to do is cut salespeople? It was always counterproductive to me. But invariably, that's what they did. And I'm actually seeing it today. It's part of the business cycle that we're seeing, and they're cutting salespeople all over the place.
So this is like the catch-all story about coming back to the Trump effect. What you're saying is, control. Like if you have a mission and a purpose, you're not going to sway off course. If you're going into the championship game, you may have to change your offense. You may have to change your defense, but you still have the same goals, purpose, mission, and winning attitude to get where you need to go, given whoever your opponent is, whatever their plays are.
Well, you said something important there. Attitude. Attitude really is everything. And when going into the environment that we're in, and listen, again, I don't want to downplay that. For a lot of people, it is unsettling. And for a lot of companies, it's unsettling. So, change is unsettling. But, if we look at it as a great big change management exercise, then there are positives in this, for sure, for a lot of different organizations. So with the right attitude and the right leadership and the right focus on the right priorities, there can be some great opportunities that come out of these times that create the right sense of urgency that perhaps is needed to affect the kind of change that we need. Whether that's for the country or for our business or for our community, I say optimize the moment.
I think we leave it there, Martin. You can't beat that. Where can we get your book?
Well, the book is available on Amazon, certainly here in Canada and in the U.S. It's available at Barnes & Noble and through Indigo, and in the U.K. at Waterstones.
And how can our your listeners, reach out to get your advice one-on-one if they would like to dig a little deeper in this personally with you?
Well, I'd love to do that. So I'm available at martinrust.ca.
martinrust.ca it is. Okay, have a great week. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you very much.